freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your mega preview pod for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. It's storylines, it's best bets. It is one and done. Joining me to break it all down, Greg DuCharme is here. Greg, welcome.
Welcome, boys. What's going on? I'm fired up for the week.
Tom Brady retired. You see that?
That's part of the reason why I'm fired up. I'm a Jets fan. I've been waiting for this for over 20 years. So
I don't know that was your problem. I mean, that was part of your problem.
It was a big problem. I mean, we had good teams when we had Rex at the helm. You know, Mark Sanchez at quarterback. I mean,
that was a problem.
Well, and went to 2 AFC Championship games.
Right. Mark Sanchez might have been Jimmy Garoppolo before Jimmy Garoppolo.
You know what? It's a fair comparison. It just I don't expect it to end in disaster the way it did for Sanchez, for Garoppolo. I mean, he's serviceable, but hey, what can you do?
I liked Chad Pennington.
Me too. You know, what's funny, before Josh Allen, Chad Pennington, this is a golf podcast, by the way, but Chad Pennington was the second best quarterback in the AFC East from 2000 to whenever the Bills drafted Josh Allen. You can't think of another one aside from Brady. So
Chad Pennington...
This all connects. This all connects because Josh Allen's in the field this week. Go ahead, KP.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's he playing with?
What is happening?
I don't
Kyle
know.
Porter, everyone. What is happening?
It's been I've had a circus of an afternoon, but Chad Pennington is the Brian Harmon of the AFC East. Because you look at him and you're like, I don't get it. And then he just makes, it just works. I don't know why. Like
on time, on target.
I don't know why Brian Harmon makes $2.5 million every single year. I don't know what he makes, but that's my guess. But it just happened. I don't know.
They're just good. They just don't look like it, right? They don't look the part.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll welcome myself to the podcast, Rick. I was late.
I brought you in. I said that right there's Kyle Porter. Go ahead, KP. You were coughing. You probably didn't hear through it. I got you, brother. Don't worry.
I'm always talking over you. I'm always late. If you're in the comments and you're guessing, like, I wonder who's late today, it's always me. So just always make me your guess. I was thinking, because I was riding my bicycle home. I don't have a car. Well, I have a car, but our family only has one car. So my wife had it. And I was riding my bicycle home. What is y'all's most underrated form of transportation? Because I think for me, it's the bicycle.
Oh, is it that underrated? I mean, I guess
it's like the most widely used piece of transportation in the world.
Is it?
I mean, in China.
Well, I would have thought that like cars or walking were more widely used.
Walking is probably the most.
I'm a big fan of walking.
I like walking. The problem is you can't get far enough. Like,
it's a great point.
Unless you live in like a bit like downtown Chicago or New York or something like that. Like where I live, which is kind of a suburb, but kind of close to downtown. It's like a halfway suburb. I can't walk to the places that I need to get to. So I use the bicycle a lot. So
I have gone into New York City by train since I've lived in Stamford. By the way, I saw in here, I'm a Connecticut Jets fan. I grew up in New York, so I'm really an upstate New York Jets fan who lives in Connecticut now. I think so. I mean, this is heavy Giants territory. But anyway, I digress. So I've trained into New York City, and whenever I get there at Grand Central, I'm like, well, let's walk. This is New York City. We don't need to get in a taxi and sit in traffic or in an Uber and, sit and stop and go. Let's just walk. It always feels faster. And by the time you get, wherever you're going, it's usually a lot longer than you think, to your point, Kyle. You end up saying, man, we got 10 more blocks. This is taking forever.
Train is underrated. And I will separate it from Subway. I don't like Subway. Train, okay. I used to take the train into the city. You can sleep on it. It's knock on wood, generally on time. There's the express or the local. You have your options. I like train. I could get
No
behind train.
seatbelt.
No
Right?
seatbelt.
You can
Come
work
on,
on it. You can
sit
talk on the
backwards.
phone.
You can sit backwards and watch the world from a whole different perspective.
I'm with you. I think train and bicycle are the two most underrated. Yeah, more trains. I'm way in.
And if you're on a train, the thing is, it might be nice to have a bicycle too, because usually the train doesn't take you to the grocery store.
Well, you don't go to the grocery store.
Yeah, right.
So
I've never been.
Nice.
But the train takes you to the train station, and then you got to get from there to wherever else you're going. Yeah, David in the chat, Metro North Express, Stanford to Grand Central. That's the route. And then once you get there, what do you do? Hopefully you got a bike.
David is Kyle's arch nemesis.
Yeah, I would like to separate train from bus. Bus is very different than train. I've done. I used to work downtown Dallas, and I had to go train to train and then to bus, which was kind of brutal. Like that was a lot. I took a book, I read a ton, but just train, like one train stop. That's it. That's pretty good.
If you have made it this far, thank you. Go ahead. Might as well hit the like button while you're there. Might as well subscribe, because if you're 6.5 minutes into our transportation conversation, we thank you. The storyline of the week, gentlemen, it's one we've been preparing for months. The Saudi International. It's this week. We're here. We've been talking about it, Greg. We've been talking about the implications of different tours. We've been talking about players opting to take appearance fees and head to Saudi Arabia. We have talked about the PGA Tour having to issue waivers to said players. This is the week. This is the week that the tournament is actually going to be played.
And there's some interesting stories coming out of it. I think Bryson's a really interesting story, given his injury concern. We were talking about appearance fees. It's a lot more challenging to just withdraw from. I don't want to speculate what his appearance fee is, but it's significant. You don't want to just withdraw from that.
That's literally all I want to do.
Yeah. What I mean, we talk about appearance fees a lot.
What is it? $1 million?
No.
7
Wait, who?
North?
Bryson.
What are we talking about? Oh,
Bryson's appearance fee?
I bet it's 2.
Well, Tiger turned down 3.
I mean, listen, and part of, I don't know how to parse this out, because social media is not the real world. But as you guys know, there's no more like hot button golfer on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, than Bryson. Now, again, like, is that the real world? I don't know. But if I'm judging only based on like what I post about Bryson, he is like the magnet of the golf world. And I don't know, maybe the Saudis are not, maybe they don't care about that, but there's something there. I think it was a lot of money.
So I guess the point is, let's say then it's $1 million plus. I think that's fair. I would guess he got at least $1 million. My guess would be $1 million. So if he gets $1 million for playing in this event, you're going to withdraw because of a wrist injury? But it's hard to do that. I mean, it's like going into a PGA Tour event knowing you're going to win financially.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not. It's hard to say no to that. Yet at the same time, is it a risk going forward? Is it a problem going forward for the rest of his season, for majors, for all the things that we expect, hope, speculate that Bryson will do? I don't know. So that's an interesting factor to me this week.
The conversations that have been had around this event and the future of this league obviously consist with morality clauses when dealing with the Saudi government. But KP, I think it's Jason Kokrak who is leader in the clubhouse for most honest at the moment, because he came out and said what I bet a lot of these guys are thinking. And I want to get this quote right. He said on a podcast, quote, "I want to make as much money as I can in as little time," end quote, which is probably the most brutally honest thing we've heard about any of these players who have opted to take the appearance fees this week.
Yeah, man, there's a lot that could be said about this. And I know we're not going to be here for 2 hours talking about it, but if that's your stance, and it just, I don't know, it's very, I don't know. You just so my issue is you hear these guys like, oh, I'm not a politician. It's like, my man, you are receiving a check from the from what's the public what's the fund called?
The PIF?
The PIF. Public Investment Fund.
There you go. Which is essentially the financial arm of a government that 3.5 years ago, like, killed somebody, like, fairly, not publicly, but it wasn't like, it's just like, and I think everybody kind of like turns to, well, the US has its problems and like Europe has, and it's like, yeah, it'd be different if like the U.S. Treasury was like handing out the check to Hudson Swafford at the American Express, right? Like it's a very different. It's just way different when your government is essentially like hosting the tournament and presenting the tournament. And I think that, I mean, Kevin Van Valkenburg said this on the No Laying Up podcast a couple weeks ago. He's like, I think these dudes just like either don't think it through or just don't really care to think it through, because like a journalist got killed by this government, and it's like it would almost be like if a Corn Ferry Tour player got murdered by a government, like would all these golfers be like, yeah, I'm gonna go play over there, right? Like I just think it's like outside of their world, and so they just don't give it a ton of like thought, and like they don't think through like the implications of it. So I don't know. There's a million other things that could be said about it, but that's sort of what I was thinking about when I was thinking about all of this today.
Yeah.
What do you think? Sorry, Rick. What do you think those implications are?
What do you mean? Like
you said the players don't really think through the implications in doing this. What are those implications? I understand what you're saying. That's a terrible story, and there are many things you can look at with the Saudi government that bring up question. But for the players going over there to play, taking a paycheck, what are those implications?
Yeah, I think the implications are the normalization of a government that has done things that should not be normalized. And again, it's way different if there's a tournament in Saudi Arabia that's being hosted by a private company, like the Farmers Insurance Open, right? Like, it's not totally private, PGA Tour or whatever, but it's literally like the financial arm of the government that is like paying people to come over and hosting the tournament. And so, yeah, that normalization, and I think it's easier to feel less bad about it when there's a lot more people doing it, right? If you're the only guy going over there, then you're like, oh, I kind of feel some guilt. But if you're Kevin Na and Phil and Patrick Reed and DJ and Bryson, you're like, I don't know. Nobody really cares about me. They just paid me like $200K and I'm here, and I don't know. Like you just, it's a lot easier to feel less bad about it. So I don't know. That's sort of the implication that, or the fallout that I see coming from it.
And there's going to be more. There's going to be more, Greg. There's going to be more conversations because this Saudi-based league is announcing more events. So they just announced another event in England. This is going to be held, I believe, this summer at the Centurion Club in England, which we were kind of talking about this before we went hot. There's this weird collaboration with the Asian Tour that there are still going to be Asian Tour events that might not necessarily have as big of purses. And then there might be kind of like the way the European Tour does these Rolex series events, like these larger purses that people travel in for. There's still a lot of details to iron out about what this even looks like for the guys who want to go over there.
When this first came out, this is what it looked like to me, a Rolex series type deal on the Asian Tour. And I do think if you're trying to set this up, Live Golf Investments, Greg Norman, whoever you think is behind it, the PIF, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, and you're trying to create a league, it's smart to go to the Asian Tour because you have something that's established, you have something that's a recognized tour, and it's a little softer. It doesn't sound like, it's not like a new league that's going to try to steal all your best players. So although that news already came out there, so everybody was already on edge that there's a Saudi league coming out that's going to try to steal the best players and pay them obscene amounts of money to play. And that's how they're going to get them. And the PGA Tour is going to be in trouble. So I understand why they went to the Asian Tour. And I have no problem with a Rolex series on that tour. I just don't know how much impact it's going to have on the PGA Tour. And I think over time, when the PGA Tour grants their releases with these, with these kind of, what do you call it? I'm at a loss for words here, but they say, hey, you can do this, but quid pro quo, right, Rick? You can go play this year, but
he forgot it too.
Yeah, two of the next 3, you got to play in the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am or whatever the next opposite event is. And that makes it really hard to sign deals because a lot of the players who played when this was a European Tour event, when they were playing there, they signed multi-year deals to play in that event. And that's kind of the base of this. If you're going to steal a player from the tour, you need some kind of deal. We're talking about $300 million here.
Yeah, so let's talk about one of these reported offerings to Ian Poulter, which is reportedly, KP, a 22 million pound offer to kind of steal Ian Poulter away, which is about $30 million bucks. To put that into perspective, Poulter's made 28 million in his PGA Tour career, and you're talking about that amount of money going to Poulter. I imagine there are larger sums for others.
Well, so a couple of things here. Ian Poulter's won, I think, once in the last 10 years, or maybe once since the end of 2012, which I guess is 10 years.
On the PGA Tour, right? I think he won. Didn't he win on the European anywhere? He didn't win on the European Tour in that.
No, not since. Double check me there, but I don't think since 2012. He won the 2018 Houston Open over Bo Hostler.
Right, I remember that one.
He is. I mean, he's popular. I don't know if he's a good player. He's not a great player. And so I don't know. Like I said this on Twitter, all these numbers keep coming out and all these different players. And it's like, and Mark has said this before. It's like, get back to me when like one person commits. And I joked on Twitter, like, you're gonna end up in a situation where the people running the PIF are like, hey, Aaron Wise, $330 million a year. You in? And it's like, I guess I have to do that. I don't know. I don't know what Aaron Wise is all about. Maybe he has just an unbelievable moral compass and he's like, no, I'm good. But I'm just sick of hearing of all these numbers and names, and it's like, just do anything. Get a amateur, or not an amateur, I guess, get a McKenzie Tour player. Get somebody to be in your league, and then we can start talking about it. But everything, I mean, Greg Norman had this quote where he's like, well, it was basically like many people are saying, like, oh, there's going to be some big announcements. And it's like, whatever, dude. Like, let me know whenever when you're ready to announce them.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And you think about how this would have to happen hypothetically. And you have to get somebody to go first, which is a great point. And Ian Poulter is interesting. And he might be a guy. I mean, I don't know what would happen with the Ryder Cup, if what the Ryder Cup captaincy would be, what that would be worth for him in terms of his net worth. You don't know what the perception would be worldwide of Ian Poulter doing that. But it's almost like, to me, if you look at a PGA Tour player as a business, as an entity, this would be selling the corporation. I mean, you can't pass it down to your kids. You can't, there's no legacy. Once your career is over, the business it ends. So at that point, what are your options when you're coming down to the end of your career? Well, if this comes up and somebody's basically buying your company, Ian Poulter Incorporated, for $30 million, it might be a good deal. But at the same time, if you're the PIF, does that investment make sense? Is there any return on that? Does that accomplish your goals? What if your goals are sport washing? Your goal, the things that you've said are your goals are to create to get the 48 best players in the world. Those guys are playing for history, right? They're playing for majors. They're playing for more than money, at least a majority of them. And that's kind of what we've heard these players say. So I think it makes it really hard to get the ball rolling. And in order to make it happen, you have to go to an Ian Poulter type. And then at that point, I don't think that gets the ball rolling enough for it to be substantial. So I think it's a really tough spot.
Well,
and I don't know.
We'll move on here in a second, KP. I'll tee you up on, sorry not to cut you up. I'll tee you up on this as well. Is there a chance, and we might be a decade or two away from this, where the PGA Tour just starts giving out contracts, right? Like, hey, you're no longer like in Major League Baseball. If you are signed to the New York Yankees, you cannot play on the Korean baseball tour. You can't go play there. Like, is there a path to the PGA Tour looking more like the traditional North American sports in its structure?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, because what would you be like? Let's say all of them. What's the prize money for the year? Like 460 million or something for a season. Is that it? 360, 460, something like that.
Hundreds of millions. Yeah.
So if you just divvied that up, and then every it's just such a unique sport, right? Because in a very normal sport, because you don't have to play like most of the good players don't play half the time.
Right.
And where else is that? Well, unless there's an injury in another sport, where else is that even remote? I guess a pitcher.
Yeah. Once every 5 days.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just such a weird thing. I think what's really interesting about the Asian tour, and I think DJ Pyhowski has talked about this, about how like maybe you don't need like instead of throwing 22 million pounds at Ian Poulter, why not, if you're really trying to do what you say you're trying to do, which is grow the game, why not put that money into
grow the game,
into like Asian tour development? And then all of a sudden in 15 years, and maybe they don't care about this, but in 15 years, you've got, I mean, you could have a league that is, at least in Asia, where there's a lot more people, more popular than the PGA Tour or the European Tour.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Spoiler alert. It's not about growing the game, but you're absolutely correct. They could create a more profitable behemoth in a larger market that more people end up caring about. And they're 15 years away from it. But
that would be grassroots. Right. That would be grassroots. Hey, we've developed this. Like, take the European Basketball League. We're going to have Europeans. I know this isn't exactly what they do, but we're going to take the very best players in Europe, and we're going to figure out a way to make it worth it for them to stay. So instead of being a Sung Jae Im and you're a Korean player, and all of a sudden your dreams in 20 years become to play on the Asian tour instead of the PGA Tour, because to
win the Asian Masters, and that becomes the legacy.
Right. That would be something I could rational. I would respect that. That's doing it the right way. You're not picking off players from, you're not just picking off players from the PGA Tour with a paycheck. You're investing in your sport. That seems to me to be a much more reasonable way of doing it. And then you leave it up to the players. Hey, are you going to play the Asian Tour here, or are you going to go play the PGA Tour? Well, and now they have a decision to make. That would make sense to me. Why?
My question is, why are they not throwing like $100 million at like Hideki Matsuyama? Right? Like because
I don't think one guy makes the league. I think if this ever happens where there's an exodus, it'll be a mass exodus, and it'll be 25 guys that have already talked about this and done it together. To the same point of why so many guys are going over right now, it's easier when other guys do it. The league is not made by one guy, and one guy doesn't want to be the league.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know like what Ian Poulter does for your unless you just don't care at all about the Asian market. Like, what is what does Ian Poulter do for you?
Well, you have to get the ball rolling somewhere, right? I mean, it has to start with one. You're not going to. I don't know. I don't see how you just get 30 guys to sign on. Right? It doesn't. It's hard for me to wrap my head around
I think 30 is easier than one, to be honest with you, because I don't think one does anything unless it's like Hideki's literally the guy. But I think 30 is easier than one is.
Everybody's waiting to see if anybody else will do it.
Yeah.
Producer Jacob brings up this point. Like, so the three most misunderstood things in golf: one, the difference between the PGA and the PGA Tour. Yeah. Right? Like, even people that follow it are like, I don't get it. Two, that Dustin Johnson and Paulina are engaged and not married, as they have been for the last 7 years. Everybody thinks they're married. Mm-hmm. And three, the difference between the PGL and the SGL. And it creates like so much confusion. And I actually feel bad for the guys at the people in charge of the Premier Golf League, because it's like, wait, hold on, we are not the sod, like we have no affiliation with the PIF. Greg Norman does not work for us. That we're not that. And yet there's just so much like confusion. And I mean, I've got like, my friends are asking me all the time, like, okay, what's going on here again? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I think Jason Kokrak's going to get like $100 million, and that's where this ends. Like, I think that's the end game. And there's not even going to be a league. It's just Kokrak walks away with $100 million check somehow.
I would believe that. I would not be surprised at all. We're gonna have to move on here, but yeah, there's obviously a lot to unravel. When there is more information, we will be here to break it all down. We're going to go through our best bets, our expert picks. There are a couple more storylines that we're going to get into on the other side, but I'll wrap them into kind of that conversation as well. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Producer Jacob, please bring yourself into the room. Here he is, Producer Jacob, live and on YouTube if you're watching. Hi, Jacob.
Hello. I can just take it away right now if you want me to. I mean,
please.
Mark Immelman shot text message this afternoon saying he would not be able to come on the podcast, but he did send me his nationality pick of the week, and I have a anthem loaded up right now.
Okay. So this is the segment. No, you're not dodging. This is the segment that we do where Mark makes a nationality bet, as he tends to do, which, by the way, he's crushing, I believe. I think he's like 3-1. I don't know what he is, but he's winning these. And we have to somehow guess by the national anthem, which we're never able to identify, who the player is. So, Jacob, I guess play it.
I think you're looking for a country, and that'll lead you to what bet it is.
What are those trumpets?
That's dramatic.
Do it again.
Are those trumpets?
Just keep it going. I could start reading out some facts, but
is that?
It's European.
It's European.
It's got to be like Eastern European or something.
It feels like it feels a little German.
Okay, so here's what I know about Mark. Mark takes chalk. So he will take whoever the favorite is in each nationality bet. So we need like who's the favorite in a European country.
Yeah, that's a good.
I'll give you. I mean, you're on the ball with European, so I'll let you know that it is the continental European is the wager. But I'll let you take a look at all the players there and figure that out.
Okay, so I have the players list. Is that cheating?
No, that's fine. That's fine because I think.
Okay, who do you got?
All right, guys. So we also have to figure out where these people are from. So Matthias Schwab, is from
Denmark.
I think it's Denmark, right?
Yes.
This is good.
Yeah.
Steven Jaeger, he's from Germany, right?
Yep.
All right. Paul Barjan, he's from French. Here we go. Alex
French.
Cheka from France, sorry. Alex Cheka, also Germany, correct?
Yes.
And Jonas Blixt, who is Swedish.
Could be Swedish. I don't see Mark picking any of those guys.
Either
I
do
don't
I.
either.
I'm stunned by this. I'm stunned.
I'm gonna guess Paul Barjan.
I'll take Steven Jaeger since I said Germany.
All right, if you think it's Germany, I'll take Cheka because Mark's an old guy, Cheka's an old guy. There might be some connection there. So we've got 3 of these guys covered, Jacob.
I also am hearing a little bit of applause, and that is from Mr. Greg DuCharme, who has selected Paul Barjan, top continental European.
Yes.
defenseman.
France.
So that was France.
That was France.
There was trumpets. There was some cymbals. Those are called cymbals, right?
Symbols. Yeah.
That was extremely dramatic. That's a very dramatic national anthem. It's what'd you use? Use regal? Is that the term you used in the
Regal.
very first one?
Regal.
Very.
I think we
Big.
did a good job. We got the continent. Like we knew.
You narrowed it right. Yeah. I mean, I think at one point you guys were saying like this is definitely Asian, but it was.
Oh yeah, it was not. It was like Spain or
not.
something.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we're getting better at this, boys.
That was
Yeah, sorry.
very helpful to get to because my initial lean. I know Mark was big on Jason Day this week, and I was expecting an Australian national anthem. Not that I'm familiar with it, but that was my guess. So it was good to get the continental Europe one.
See, he did top Australian last week. So I wonder he's gonna have to start repeating at some point. Which if we're banking these in the memory, we might be able to get an edge on him.
Where's Min Woo from? Is he Australia or New Zealand?
I think Australia.
I thought it was Australia as well, but
Australian.
Yeah. That's right.
Just to clarify, we did clarify Matthias Schwab is Austrian, right?
Yeah, no, I said Denmark. I think he is Austrian. Yeah,
He's
I think
Austrian.
Denmark's flag is the same colors.
Red and white, right?
Yeah.
that's how I
Yeah,
know
that's
from like
I know
the
it too. That's what I was picturing.
OWGR page or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of flags, what's y'all's favorite Winter Olympics event?
Yo, that's coming up.
Tomorrow.
I like the one where what's it called? Where they have to cross country ski and then shoot.
That's the biathlon.
That's my favorite.
Yes.
It's sick. It's insane.
Those are the two, like, hey, do this endurance test and then also do the thing where heavy breathing is not ideal.
Yeah.
That's an Olympic event.
Right. Your heart's pumping. It's almost like playing dizzy bat and then running an obstacle course. You get all
exactly
out
like
of
that.
whack. Yeah.
It's exactly
Go ahead, Jacob.
Jacob's
I
going
was
to have
just
good
gonna
Olympic
say,
kicks.
I love like the bobsled and the luge because I honestly have like zero clue what makes a good time. Like I have no clue what the actual skill is involved because from my perspective on the outside, you just like you sit on the vehicle and you go down and you have to make super minute adjustments as you're going down. But
If
It looks like sledded.
If you're the fourth
Yeah.
guy in the bobsled, you're just there because you're a fast runner, right? Like once you're in, you're just keep your head down, hold on, right?
I assume team bobsled, you got to have like a bunch of coordination. But yeah, I'm honestly, I'm stunned watching it all the time.
What's the one where it's luge but they go down head first?
Skeleton.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's for some crazy
Crazy.
people. That's crazy.
Figure skating overrated. Can't do it.
Easily.
Here's my
Go ahead.
I got takes on figure skating, gymnastics, and this is I know that they have a point system that they grade on, but like to me, I'm just not a fan of sports that have some sort of non-objective criteria for like how to rank.
So
And
you
I
want to get rid of judging. to the
Think about
judges.
how many.
I hate
Think about,
judges. Yeah,
think about how many majors Rory and Louis Oosthuizen would have if we had a point system like that.
Mhm. Preach. Preach.
Here's a biathlon thing.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. Victor Hovland. I used to watch. This is from the Northern Trust last year. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Who said that? Where's that from? Is that today?
Seb Max. Ole Einar Bjorndalen.
Okay, I did not see that before I said this, so that's tremendous. He said, I watch a lot of biathlons. Ole Einar Bjorndalen. He was a stud. And I mean, we had multiple cross-country skiers and downhill skiers, so I used to watch that a lot. But I grew up mainly watching golf, so Henrik Bjornstad was the only Norwegian tour player that played before me and Christopher Ventura, so I looked up to him when I was younger. How long's the king? We didn't talk on Saturday, or we haven't talked since he won.
3 and 5 starts. He is scorching.
Your boy, everybody's boy. He's the man.
Number 3 in the world. Unreal.
The highest ranked Oklahoma State Cowboy ever, Kyle. Sorry, Ricky. Sorry, everybody else.
That was shocking.
That's tough for Rick. I think Ricky got to what, 5 or 6 or something like that.
That's a premier golf school. And what, 18 months, 24 months into his pro career, he's like, I'll just be the 3rd ranked.
Well, it's a premier golf school, but they don't produce a lot of ROMs. Not that anybody does, but like Arizona State's produced Phil Mickelson, Rom, multiple top 2 players in the world. And Oklahoma State produces a lot of Charles Howells, where it's like, yeah, they're on tour, they make a lot of money, but there's nobody that's like.
And if you have 5 of them, you dominate in college.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah, you got 5 Charles Howells on the same team. They're all going to the PGA Tour.
5 Alex Norens. They're good players. They're really good, but they're not, top 3 in the world. I mean, Hovland and Matthew Wolff on the same college team. I don't know if we talk about that enough. That's a joke. That's insane.
It is a joke. I don't know where we were. Best bets, I believe. So here's our best bets. No, not there. Thank you, Jacob. So this is where we scour Caesar Sportsbook. We find the absolute best bet that we can find, and we place it here. Greg, you are going. We got a little bit of these old guy resurgences. Justin Rose playing well. He is your best bet.
I originally had Justin Rose over Will Zalatoris, which I thought was a great matchup for Rosie. But Zalatoris has withdrawn. I hope he's feeling all right. Anyway, I really liked that. So I check out other Rosie options. I wasn't crazy about the other matchups. And I got into Rosie top 20. And I thought that was pretty good odds. I really like his chances at contending here. He's played well here in the past. He has a 6th place finish. He's only played this event twice, but he has a 6th place finish. And he also came in, 3rd or tied 3rd at the US Open, which was at Pebble Beach. And I'm noticing a big resurgence in his ball striking, specifically greens and regulation, which isn't a huge stat. I mean, it's not a stat that we typically accredit to success. But what I love is he's back to hitting 70% of greens and regulation. And when he went into his low spot, greens and regulation plummeted. He had to rely on short game. He had to rely on putting. And now all of a sudden that those greens and regulation are starting to come back. We're starting to see old Justin Rose style of play, and top 20 feels like a really safe number for me with that ability coming back, the strength of the field, and at plus 125, I think it's a steal of a number.
Plus 125 for Justin Rose to finish inside the top 20. I went with another little resurgence. Jason Day over Jordan Spieth. That's minus 120. And KP, we alluded to this maybe last week. I think Spieth is the storyline this week at Pebble Beach. I think that if God forbid he misses the cut this week, I will crank this up to an 11 on how concerned I am.
Yeah, you were really good on this. As the CEO, owner, I don't know what you want to call me, of Spieth Island, I have some shame over not being more on top of this, but you were on this all week, and I looked up some of his numbers. So he is over his last 20 rounds, over his last 4 tournaments, he's lost strokes on approach in each of them. Now, I guess that's measured tournament, so that dates back to, it's like Hero, or no, it's not Hero. It's Tour Championship,
DJ Cup,
DJ, and then Hawaii and Torrey. I think that's right.
That sounds right.
And over his last 20 rounds, he's 56th in this field in strokes gained tee to green. So that's 5 or 6, 7 tournaments, whatever, if he made the cut. That's not good. This field is not good. This field is like, it's like a lot worse than the American Express. It's kind of low key, not like bad.
And it would be bad to be 56th in the players field.
Right. Totally. And so it's, I mean, we talked about it at Hawaii. It doesn't look great. And now it doesn't look great on paper, which to me is more problematic than like visually how it actually looks. It's, you know, this is the kind of the year anniversary of when it was like, oh, Spieth, like snap back into being Spieth. And now you're like, well, is it still, what's going on here? I think you're right. I think he is, if not the story, then one of the top 2 or 3 this week.
Just to add to the storyline here, which this would have been if we did all 3 of us pick our top stories. Mine was the ratings at this event, which last year, because Spieth was in the mix, set some, you know, highs since 2014, you know, 7-year or so highs. It was extremely popular event, and the field wasn't great then either. But in these events, you can get great leaderboards on Sunday. And you can get really compelling events without having a great field. But Jordan Spieth is a big part of that. And you need him to contend to make this a great event, it would seem. We'll see. I mean, there's a possibility that you can get it another way. But he's a needle mover. Yeah. And I was really looking forward to seeing him, you know, contend this week. But I have my doubts too.
He holed out from the fairway on 2 consecutive days, I think, for Eagle. Right, Friday, Saturday, something like that, and he was
the one on Saturday was crazy. It was like
that was the huge draw, right?
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, on 10, I believe.
He was screaming at Greller the whole time, and the whole thing was just. And then you know, Berger. Well, I'll just go into mine. Berger winning last year. Listen, like he's been awesome for the last 12 months, and it's a little, you know, under the radar. So he has since the start of 2021, he has 22 starts and 10 top 10s. So 45% of the time. And you know, Daniel Berger's not playing John Deere's. He's playing legit big time events. And he's first in this field in ball striking over his last 20 rounds. He's first in this field in tee to green over his last 20 rounds. He's been playing really good golf. I've been seeing on Twitter and kind of in the DFS community, there's some injury concerns. Do you know anything about that, Rick?
I only know what they showed on ESPN Plus last week or on PGA Tour Live. So on Saturday, which was the final round, he, for the first couple holes, hit shots and grabbed his back like very clearly and was kind of gingerly walking around. Now he went on to shoot, I think, like a 2 under 70, and he seemed fine after that, and he completed the round, but he was, for at least a handful of shots early in that round, visibly uncomfortable.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that, and he didn't get asked about it today, and he didn't bring it up. So that's well, I'm glad I do know that, but if I didn't know about that, I would be really, really confident about him finishing in the top 20 this week.
Yeah, he shot a 1 under 71. Him and
Cantlay are just like so much better than the rest of this field.
Yeah, I have not sent out my weekly email yet. That's one topic, and you brought up another topic earlier that's in there as well. The Jordan Spieth stuff. So yes, they're head and shoulders. It's them and everybody else. It's not close.
Yeah, I think like Ryan Palmer's third if you look at recent kind of tee to green stuff, and he's been fine. He doesn't have a lot of success at Pebble, but it's just very clearly Cantlay and Berger. Of course, I didn't pick either one for one and done, so shame on me.
If Berger does indeed finish inside the top 20, it's -125. Those are your odds. Gentlemen, sleepers, top 10, and winner. Our picks, our expert in quotation picks. Greg, let's start with your sleeper, and it is a guy who thrives this time of year.
Yes, that's a fair statement, right? He's a multiple winner at the Farmers last week, multiple winner here at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. It's Brandt Snedeker. Last week, I imagine he broke your heart. He hurt me, and I watched him play a little bit, and I don't think it's as bad. I think it was a Tory factor. Torrey just being difficult. That that Thursday round at the South Course was difficult for him, but I don't think his form is bad, and it's been really good of late. And I expect that to continue. And I think at Pebble and Spyglass and Monterey Peninsula, it's going to get a little bit easier for him. I love what he's done on and around the greens. I think that's really important this week. And I expect him to have another nice putting week. And the course history is sticky. I don't think he's going to have 2 miscuts in a row. I think he could really be a surprise this week and could really contend.
Brandt Snedeker 80-1. I'm going a little bit longer. I've got the guy. This is my favorite sleeper story in so long. It's Brandon Harkins, 100-1. He's not going to win, but he'll play well. He won on the Korn Ferry Tour last week. Greg, you know how this works. Usually you win. You got to do all your winning obligations. You got to sprint to the next stop. Au contraire, that event ended on Wednesday. He's had basically a full week to get to Pebble Beach, check out the 3 courses. Oh, by the way, Bay Area kid. Oh, by the way, has played well at Pebble Beach before. Oh, by the way, has won the TaylorMade Pebble Beach Invitational. For those of you who don't know what it is, like I didn't 18 hours ago, it is a non-tour professional golf tournament that has been won by the likes of Kevin Kisner and Tommy Gainey and Tommy Armour 3 times. It's like a thing. Won it last year. Brandon Harkins is that dude at Pebble Beach.
Well, I think that, we don't, part of it is because of the name. We don't assign proper valuation to Korn Ferry wins. I still think we do the thing where it's like, if somebody wins on the European Tour, I'm just going to keep calling it that. Sorry, DP, like I'm whatever. We're like, oh man, European Tour win coming in hot. Like this could be a thing. The Korn Ferry is like right there, a little better, a little like at least similar. And we just don't ascribe the same valuation to winning there. And I think we should. And so, yeah, I like that. It's good.
My only thing, which I think you kind of handle this point, it breaks a rule for me. Guys who won last week. Right. I typically stay away from him, but I understand your point. There's a little bit of lapse in between.
But he's also not going to win. He's not going to win this week.
Two?
You can't win back-to-back. You can't win back-to-back years, and you can't win back-to-back weeks is Greg's 2 rules.
No, it's not that you can't win them. It's just that I don't pick them because it happens so rarely. So you'll see later, burgers out for me by rule. So
I think back-to-back weeks is harder than back-to-back years.
The one thing about back-to-back years, and this is true of back-to-back weeks too, there's so much more attention. Burger's going to get more attention this week than he would at a normal week.
Yeah, there's just less emotional fallout. I think emotionally it's difficult to go back-to-back weeks, especially if you're somebody like Luke List, who's never won. I mean, are you going to go? I don't even know if he's in the field. I don't think he is, but
no, he's not.
If he was, are you gonna it's difficult to rebound from that. On the other hand, if you fall just short the week before, I mean, before the WD, I was picking Zalatoris in every possible way I could, one and done, straight up, like everything, because it just had that feel of, he did that before on the Korn Ferry. He finished just out of a playoff one week by missing a putt, and then the next week he wins on the Korn Ferry. And we've seen that over and Kyle Stanley several years ago, Torrey to Phoenix. Like there's just so many instances where guys barely miss out and then they win the next week because of kind of the emotional trajectory of what's going on.
Believe it or not, we talk about that Kyle Stanley moment way too often on the Monday show. We are very well versed in that Kyle Stanley situation. Harkins 100-1. He won't win, but I'll be happy when he finishes T9. KP, you are going with someone at 55-1 who Greg DuCharme would define as a popper.
Yeah, Tom Hoge. He's finished either top 5 or missed the cut in each of his last 4, which is fantastic.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like just perfect. He's getting a little buried here because he missed a cut at Farmers. People are just, I think, forgetting that he finished runner-up at American Express to Hudson Swafford. So love him at 55-1.
Top 10 locks. We can roll through these pretty quickly. I'm going with Seamus Power. He is just one of the better ball strikers on the planet over his last 50 rounds. That's 3-2-1. KP, I'll bounce it right back to you. Find me somebody who's a lock to finish inside the top 10.
Yeah, Patrick Cantlay is finished in the top 10 four tournaments in a row, and in the top 11 in 5 PGA Tour events in a row. So not a good number, but again, so much better than the rest of the field. I got to put him here.
Greg, top 10, please.
Justin Rose, same as my top 20 best bet. That was the best bet because it's a little safer. But I think he can finish in the top 10 and at plus 275. I like the number.
Greg might have a card of Rose to win, Rose top 5, Rose top 10, Rose top 20. Just catch them all when he wins this thing.
That's right.
I love that. I do have Mark's picks as well. Russell Knox as a sleeper, Cantlay as the top 10, which leaves us with our picks to win. As I've indicated, Mark is taking Jason Day. We talked about that last week. He told me that at breakfast the other day. And Greg, you are going. Oh, Greg, who are you picking to win this week?
The best player in the field, Patrick Cantlay. Look, last year he came in tied third. He played beautiful golf, and he's a much better putter now this year than he was last year. And as Kyle said, I mean, his last 4 starts, and there's a long time in between them, but you're talking about a 9th, 4th, and 2 wins at some pretty big events. So I think he comes in here ready to go. He has a nice course history here, and it's only improved since I guess after his first go around in 2013, it's improved except for that every year since. And I expect that to continue. And I think he's, in a strange way, even though he's only 2 starts removed from a win, I think he's ready for another one.
7.5 to 1 currently at Caesars Sportsbook. I think he was a little bit longer than that, but then Zalatoris withdrew and kind of adjusted some of the odds at the top of the board. KP, you mentioned that Patrick Cantlay and Daniel Berger are head and shoulders above the rest of the field. Cantlay is your top 10. Is Daniel Berger your pick to win?
Daniel Berger is my pick to win. He's not my one and done, but he's my pick to win for all the reasons. I mean, he's not even putting that well if you look at his last couple of months. And yet he's still just consistent. I mean, he finished, I think, T20 last week, which was his worst finish in a while. And obviously that field is a lot better than this one. So I just, small, I'm sure you guys talked about this on Monday, but tiny greens at Pebble, he's the best, or one of the 2 or 3 best approach players in the field. So for all those reasons, and because he's won here before, I like him this week.
I will be the sucker who picks the guy to win who has never won before. His name is Cameron Tringale. He's 30 to 1. This feels like the week, kind of in a similar volatility of Hoagie. He just more frequently finishes inside the top 10. Did it again last week, was in the second to last group, played well. 30 to 1. I'll take it. This feels like the type of field he can come out on top.
I like that, Rick.
I like that too.
Thank you.
I wish I did happen
this year.
You think so? You're planting a flag in the ground. Cameron Tringale is going to win this year.
Yeah, okay. I believe so.
He's most likely to win this year. Tringale, Scheffler, or Zalatoris on the PGA Tour.
Zalatoris. Then Scheffler. Then Tringale.
I would say Scheffler, Zalatoris, Tringale.
I'm with Rick.
Yeah.
Zalatoris.
You got Zalatoris ahead of him?
Zalatoris is just in another class of ball striking than Scheffler.
Yeah, he is. But he just has a really big question that has to be answered. And it's, I know I saw your tweet about the numbers with his putting, but there's something more than numbers going on with his putting. And it worries me. It worries me quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think it's, we don't need to go down the Zalatoris road, although I really wish he was in this event because I was curious to see how he would rebound on a place that he said he really loves. But I think, to your point, Greg, there's a difference between, like, you can have the exact same overall numbers, but if that's your number every week versus Morikawa is like really hot and cold, like they're like, how that plays out in wins and losses is very different. Because
this is your popular Tony Finau take, right? Be more inconsistent.
Yeah,
unanimous agreement on that.
And yeah, so anyway, we don't need to go deep into that, but that's Yeah, that's how I feel about Zalatoris.
That leaves us, gentlemen, with just one final thing to do. It's our one and done picks. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back, one and done. I'm reeling. I have whiffed 3 consecutive weeks, 3 zeros in a row. I'm spun around. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. But we're not going to start with me. We're going to start with you, Kyle, who got leapfrogged by Sia Nejad last week. So you are looking to climb out of that spot at the bottom. Find me somebody who will help you do just that.
Oh, Mark has him too. Dang. I was hoping nobody else had him. I'm going Jason Day. Obviously has played well here before, played great last week. His who is it that you talk about, Rick, that gets it done with driving and putting?
Sam Burns?
No, there's somebody else. Or it's just like he's a great driver, but he's also a great putter. I'll look it up.
Yeah, there is somebody. I'm like, that's a rare combination, is what I always say.
Yeah.
And Jason Day at his apex.
Patrick Rogers? We talk about that with Patrick Rogers sometimes.
That might be it.
Maybe it's Patrick Rogers.
That might be it. But Jason Day at his apex was the best putter in the world for a long time. And also like a top, I don't know, 15, 10, 20 driver. He was never like an elite iron player. He was good. But that's what I saw last week is great driving, great putting. He plays well at Pebble. He loves the 7-hour rounds. I don't know why, but he does. And so, yeah, I think that he has an opportunity. I just don't know. He's not. I don't know where else I would play him. I'm not going to take him in a major. Probably not going to take him at the Players. Maybe like a Wells Fargo or something like that. But this seems like a good spot for him in a pretty weak field.
Kyle's going with Jason Day. Mark at the top also going with Jason Day. We'll talk about that more in just a second. Sia is going with Maverick McNeely, trying to get his 3rd consecutive top 5 finish at Pebble Beach. I'm going with Cameron Tringale. Kind of no surprise there. Greg, you and I are within literally $500 of one another. We almost have the exact same earnings total. And we're going with different guys. I have Tringale. You're going with whom, please?
I'm going with my winner for the week, Patrick Cantlay. Again, I think he's the best player in the field. I'm not sure I can afford to save guys for much longer. I think I still have enough in the can to get through some majors, get through some of these big events that are going to be really important. And looking at the rest of the schedule, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Patrick Cantlay. I also figured, I guess nobody else would play him because he's a guy that you want to save. And so I had some success doing this with Rahm last week. Mm-hmm. And I think I feel really strongly that he's going to win. And so for that reason, I think this might be the most financially lucrative place to play Patrick Cantlay. Maybe it's wrong. It could very well be wrong. But I think it's hard to predict. I think this is a really, really clear-cut fit for him.
I like that.
Worked well with John Rahm last week. Got you $445,000. You'd probably take that from Patrick Cantlay right now.
Yeah, I'm hoping
That's what we should start doing
for 2 commas in that.
We should start saying, okay, Greg, I'll give you $250,000 for Cantlay right now. Do you want it? And we'll bid up. We'll just like.
Ooh, that's a fun game.
It's a fun game.
Because 250 probably a little low. You get up to 450. I think I'd take that. Again, I'm hoping for 2 commas. But like I got to catch Mark here. Got to reel.
Because that would be fun with the weeks where you took 450 and he wins. Then we get to make fun of you. Or the week that you ride it out and he misses the cut, we get to make fun of you for that too. It'd be like a fun little game.
Said that.
Make fun of Greg game. Okay.
Well,
not just you and everybody else too.
What was the average of the winning? Like 2 something, 1 something?
Last year?
Yeah, it was like 9 mil. So divided by 50.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, like 200,000, and then like in how the more people in the pool, the more it needs to go up. But for us, it's like 200,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So 450, you should probably take it right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really miss cuts. But yeah, 450 is a nice number.
450 is a nice number. Jacob, come in here because you and I are in the same boat this week, and I need to be talked off the ledge, my friend. I cannot post 4 consecutive zeros. Are we gonna get something from Tringale this week?
Well, I mean, theoretically, this isn't an Adam Long situation where we just have like 7 straight missed cuts and then you win a tournament. I'm hoping you break the schneid right now, and we get some money. We were talking about it before. Cameron Tringali obviously hasn't won on the PGA Tour yet, but he's racked up a bunch of money. And the point of the one and done, I mean, yes, you wanna win, but you also want to make money, and you don't necessarily want to. At least I came into this thinking I don't want to burn someone too big on this event. That's a little hit and giggle. I don't think you want a top 20 player in an event where Tommy Gainey's also in the field.
Tommy Gainey just got in the field. I saw that. John Huh withdrew. Tommy Gainey he's in the field.
It's 2 glove season.
Are you worried that Tommy Gainey's going to beat your top 20 player?
Yes.
Right. I mean,
yeah. Well, more of just principle of like you got to think that a top 20 player, you're not using them the fullest extent. If there's
but what the fullest
they're in a weaker field,
size of purse, right?
Yes, because Tommy Gainey's not going to be playing in the players. I as much as I wish that Tommy Gainey would be playing in the players, because I would pay an unreasonable amount of sum to play 3 rounds with him at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
How much would you pay for that?
Well,
10
I
grand?
mean, I think
you'd get to play 3 rounds at 3 elite golf courses that would probably cost you $2 grand anyway.
I think that is a very fair amount.
Yeah.
10, 15.
All right. Well, if we can ever make it happen for you, Jacob, we'll know.
It's going to charity, Greg. This is a charity.
Yeah, whatever you got to do.
I do feel better that Jacob has made me feel better about this Cameron Tringali pick. The coach is going with Maverick McNeely, and Mark, who is $1.4 million ahead of the coach, is going with Jason Day as suspected. That will conclude our one and done segment. Gentlemen.
Hold on. Is this a palindrome?
Is what a palindrome?
Our picks.
Day,
it's the
McNeely.
Same, it's the same
yes.
Forwards and backwards.
Nice. Well done. Yes.
This is the best thing that's happened all day. Our picks are a palindrome.
When sorted by standings, they are indeed. Day,
Wow.
McNeely, Tringali, Cantlay, Tringali, McNeely, Day. Bang. Well done.
Very cool.
What are the odds of that happening?
Pretty small. That's pretty cool. I like that.
We started with bicycle transportation and we end with palindromes. This is the best podcast I've ever been on.
Anything else while we're here? Anything else?
Well,
I
I'm
think
happy
we should
to be on the best podcast that the one and only Kyle Porter is ever done.
How many podcasts do you think you've done, Kyle? How many podcast episodes? Yeah.
Oh, 8 years, probably. No, 10 years now. Probably.
Okay, let's do the math.
I don't know, 300, 600.
How many do you think you've done every week on average?
Well, so I used to do like an Oklahoma State podcast, and we did like 300 episodes. So I've probably done like 600 or 700 in my career.
Wow! And you still come in with the wrong microphone, and
I still show up. Yeah, exactly.
I was saying, it was so easy. God, it was so easy. All right, we're getting out of here. That concludes our mega preview pod for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Kyle Porter can be found on Twitter at Kyle Porter CBS. Greg DuCharme can be found at The Real GFD. It is producer Jacob that does all the hard work behind the scenes, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.